The intersection of God and politics here in the United States is a crucial topic to discuss, especially if your line of vision differs from the narrow constructs being pushed by whomever is currently in office. A huge component of our severance from the British monarchy was the divine right of kings. This old tyranny is now being repackaged into a new techno-state. I do see this as a subversion of the will of the American public. Recently, I have been reading more of Richard Nixon's writings, as my sweetie has been quite obsessed with him as of late. He documents his meeting with Nikita Khrushchev in the book Six Crises. So Six Crises came out in 1962, I believe, and is about everything leading up to Nixon's time as vice president under Eisenhower. So it would have taken place when he was vice president. Reading about the former Soviet premier, I was dumbstruck by how similar he was to our current president. Attitudes, mannerisms, and the way he felt about those he was intended to serve. I'm not necessarily saying that either of them was a bad leader or the worst among tyrants. I mean, whatever you believe about the current situation, I think we can all agree we would rather live in Nixon or Eisenhower's America than Khrushchev's USSR. Hi. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy, howdy. How's everyone doing? It is Friday, where and when I am right now. And we are 3/4 of the way done with Lent. Can you believe it? So that means that Easter's right around the corner. This year, for some reason, I keep mistaking Easter for Halloween. I think I've spoken a little bit about mental health challenges that I have faced. And basically, like, the way I think of it is that if you jump timelines, then there are going to be things that were the case in this timeline that are no longer true in this timeline. And so sometimes I will say things with complete confidence that are just absolutely not true. Like, my brain lies to me all the time. Of course, making my life very challenging. Oh. But I'm okay with admitting when I'm wrong, and I do try to be. I try to rely a lot on my phone to like look things up and make sure that I'm correct when I am speaking about things. Sometimes it's important and sometimes it's not. If it's important, I want to make sure I get it right. But it's challenging. It's very challenging. So let's continue talking about Job. Now we have gotten into the part with his friend Elihu. And this part is very wrong. This part's very long. So we're going to read 32 through 35 today. And then 36. Let's read 32 through 34 and then stop at 35. And let's see what Elihu's take is on Job's situation. We haven't heard from him yet. So these 3 men ceased to answer Job, because he esteemed himself just. Then the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite, of the family of Ram, was kindled. His wrath, I say, was kindled against Job, because he justified himself more than God. Also his anger was kindled against his 3 friends, because they could not find an answer, and yet condemned Job. Now Elihu had waited till Job had spoken, for they were more ancient in years than he. So Elihu is kind of younger. So when Elihu saw that there were none answer in the mouth of the 3 men, his wrath was kindled. Therefore Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite, answered and said, I am young in years, and ye are ancient. Therefore I doubted, and was afraid to show you mine opinion. For I said, the days shall speak, and the multitude of years shall teach wisdom. Surely there is a spirit in man, but the inspiration of the Almighty giveth understanding. Great men are not always wise, neither do the aged always understand judgment. Therefore I say, hear me, and I will show also mine opinion. Behold, I did wait upon your words, and hearkened unto your knowledge, whilst you sought out reasons. Yea, when I had considered you, lo, there was none of you that reproved Job, nor answered his words. Lest ye should say, we have found wisdom, for God hath cast him down, and no man. Yet hath he not directed his words to me, neither will I answer him by your words. Then they, fearing, answered no more, but left off their talk. When I had waited, for they spake not, but stood still and answered no more. Then answered I in my turn, and I shewed my opinion, for I am full of matter, and the spirit within me compelleth me. Behold, my belly is as the wine, which hath no vent, and like the new bottles that brast. Therefore will I speak, that I may take breath. I will open my lips, and will answer. I will not now accept the person of man, neither will I give titles to man. For I may not give titles, lest my Maker should take me away suddenly. So he's just kind of prefacing, and he's like, you guys are older than me, you probably know more than me, or at least I wanted to give you that benefit of the doubt, but now I can see that I have things to say that you have not addressed. Wherefore, Job, I pray thee, hear my talk, and hearken unto all my words. Behold, now I have opened my mouth, my tongue hath spoken in my mouth, my words are in the uprightness of mine heart, and my lips shall speak pure knowledge. The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. If thou canst give me answer, prepare thyself and stand before me. Behold, I am according to thy wish in God's stead. I am also formed of the clay. Behold, my terror shall not fear thee, neither shall mine hand be heavy upon thee. Doubtless thou hast spoken in mine ears, and I have heard the voice of thy words. Okay, are we going to get into it, Elihu? He's like prefaced this a lot. Clearly uncomfortable speaking in front of these older men, but unable to contain his feelings on the matter any longer. I am clean without sin. I am innocent, and there is none iniquity in me. Lo, he hath found occasions against me, and counted me for his enemy. He hath put my feet in the stocks, and looketh narrowly unto all my paths. Behold, in this hast thou not done right. I will answer thee that God is greater than man. Why doest thou strive against him? For he doeth not give account of all his matters. For God speaketh once or twice, and one seeth it not. In dreams and visions of the night, when sleep falleth upon men, and they sleep upon their beds, then he openeth the ears of men, even by their corrections which he hath sealed, that he might cause man to turn away from his enterprise, and that he might hide the pride of man, and keep back his soul from the pit, and that his life should not pass by the sword. He is also stricken with sorrow upon his bed, and the grief of his bones is sore, so that his life causeth him to abhor bread, and his soul dainty meat. His flesh faileth, that it cannot be seen, and his bones which were not seen clatter. So his soul draweth to the grave, and his life to the buriers. If there be a messenger with him, or an interpreter, 1 of 1,000 to declare unto man his righteousness, then will he have mercy upon him, and will say, Deliver him that he go not down into the pit, for I have received a reconciliation. Then shall his flesh be as fresh as a child's, and shall return as in the days of his youth. He shall pray unto God, and he will be favorable unto him, and he shall see his face with joy, for he will render unto man his righteousness. So even though Elihu has said that he's angry and he can't hold his tongue any longer, actually his message is not too harsh. He's more like saying, deliver him that he go not down into the pit, and talking about reconciliation in the face of man's mortality. He looketh upon men, and if one say, I have sinned and perverted righteousness, and it did not profit me, he will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. Lo, all these things will God work twice or thrice with a man, that he may turn back his soul from the pit, to be illuminate in the light of the living. Mark well, O Job, and hear me. Keep silence, and I will speak. If there be matter, answer me and speak, for I desire to justify thee. If thou hast not, hear me. Hold thy tongue, and I will teach thee wisdom. Moreover, Elihu answered and said, Hear my words, ye wise men, and hearken unto me, ye that have knowledge. So he's still kind of deferring to these guys. Nothing has really proven thus far that they know any more or less than each other. They all seem to be on pretty even ground thus far. For the ear trieth the words, as the mouth tasteth meat. Let us seek judgment among us, and let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job hath said, I am righteous, and God hath taken away my judgment. Should I lie in my right? My wound of the arrow is grievous without my sin. What man is like Job, that drinketh scornfulness like water? Which goeth in the company of them that work iniquity, and walketh with wicked men? For he hath said, It profiteth a man nothing that he should walk with God. That's an interesting phrase right there. It profiteth a man nothing that he should walk with God. Therefore hearken unto me, ye men of wisdom. And that's not Elihu saying that. It's Elihu saying that that's what Job is saying. God forbid that wickedness should be in God, and iniquity in the Almighty. For he will render unto man according to his work, and cause every one to find according to his way. And certainly God will not do wickedly, neither will the Almighty pervert just judgment. Whom hath he appointed over the earth beside himself? Or who hath placed the whole world? If he set his heart upon man, and gather unto himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh shall perish together, and man shall return unto dust. And if thou hast understanding, hear this, and hearken to the voice of my words. Shall he that hateth judgment govern? And wilt thou judge him wicked that is most just? Wilt thou say unto a king, Thou art wicked, or to princes, Ye are ungodly? How much less to him that accepteth not the persons of princes, and regardeth not the rich more than the poor? For they be all the works of his hands. They shall die suddenly, and the people shall be troubled at midnight, and they shall pass forth and take away the mighty without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his goings. There is no darkness nor shadow of death, that the workers of iniquity might be hid therein. For he will not lay on man so much that he should enter into judgment with God. He shall break the mighty without seeing, and shall set up on other in their stead. Therefore shall he declare their works. He shall turn the night, and they shall be destroyed. He striketh them as wicked men in the places of the seers, because they have turned back from him, and would not consider all his ways. So that they have caused the voice of the poor to come unto him, and he hath heard the cry of the afflicted. And when he giveth quietness, who can make trouble? And when he hideth his face, who can behold him, whether it be upon nations or upon a man only? Because the hypocrite doth reign, and because the people are snared. Surely it appertaineth unto God to say, I have pardoned, I will not destroy. But if I see not, teach thou me. If I have done wickedly, I will do no more. Will he perform the thing through thee? For thou hast reproved it, because that thou hast chosen and not I. Now speak what thou knowest. Let men of understanding tell me, and let a wise man hearken unto me. Job hath not spoken of knowledge, neither were his words according to wisdom. I desire that Job may be tried, unto the end touching the answers for wicked men. For he addeth rebellion unto his sin. He clappeth his hands among us, and multiplieth his words against God. So here, Elihu is mostly condemning Job for questioning God's will and God's plan, and is saying that God does see everything, and there's no place where men of iniquity can hide in this world. So, perhaps as we get further into Elihu's response, tomorrow probably. Only if I don't get around to it tomorrow, but I probably will. I've been keeping up with these videos pretty well. So mostly what he's said so far is, I'm younger than you, but I also feel like I have a similar, I'm similar to you in intellect. And yet you are come around wise men, and let us discuss this matter. It's very interesting because there's a lot of repetition in the book of Job, and a lot of people just kind of saying the same thing over and over to each other, which is what happens a lot, I think, in argument and disagreement. And it helps to illustrate and really drive home the suffering that Job is facing. That it does illustrate his judgment is somewhat clouded by his discomfort and anguish. He is not overly indicting of God. Obviously, his position is uncomfortable, and he does question as to why God has chosen to persecute him in this way, perceivedly. But that was not his initial response, because again, like, his wife was like, well, why don't you just blaspheme God and die, and then you won't have to deal with it anymore? Only through, like, talking with his friends, who seemed to think that there are things in which he was remiss. Elihu isn't saying that, though. His friends think that perhaps there was some secret sin that Job had committed, and Eliphaz and Zophar then, of course, like, alluding to perhaps he did not help out people who were less fortunate than him enough. But Job did refute that. He said, well, actually, there were a lot of people who were hurting, and I did help them out. I didn't help out the wicked. I would always persecute the wicked. Which one might argue that it's not really our place to judge and persecute the wicked outside of what the justice system sets forth as the law. Like us as private citizens, it's not really our place to persecute the wicked. And in fact, in doing so, we often don't have enough information to properly mete out any kind of judgment against truly wicked people. So if there's some way in which a person is wronged, there have to be structured methods for meting out that judgment, because it can be very easy to wrongly persecute people. So that is one thing that comes up in Job that I do think about. And you wonder if he was actually meting out persecution, because of course we don't have a lot of backstory on Job. It's not like we get to see Job's life up until that point, and that we can actually judge for ourselves. And again, then that is us as mortals passing judgment on another mortal based on what we perceive to be right and wrong. And that being a circumspection of God's judgment, or like a skirting of God's judgment, that then we are passing that judgment and not allowing for God's divine will. So it gets very meta, the levels of judgment, like us judging Job as we're reading the story, his friends judging him, us judging the friends, us, as readers, then having this outside window into this situation, but not really having all the information. Makes for a very interesting read. And I think that I will have some more days after finishing Job left in Lent to read other parts of the Bible as well. So if you have parts that you'd like to see me address, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, I hope that you are having a wonderful Lenten season, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.